Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Tuesday, January 13th edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the WellPoint Studios here in beautiful, historic downtown Lowell. Actually, on what's kind of a really nice sunny morning as well. And speaking of sunshine, look.
Thank you, Teddy. I haven't seen you since, I don't know, like 2025.
It's been years.
It has. So I'm going to tell you, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, it's been that long.
If you had held out, I would have had to say Happy Valentine's Day. But fortunately, you got me in here.
We take that. But we got you long overdue. Melanie Gilbert from the Lowell Sun is joining us here. A lot to talk about. A lot
has happened.
As always, locally, statewide, nationally, stuff that you and I are just going to invent during the course of the conversation.
I'm down for that.
To talk about. There's a lot happening. Good to have you here. How about your holidays?
Good, quiet. I didn't travel, didn't do anything. It was just very nice. So I didn't have any leave because I took it for my tonsils.
That's right. That's right.
When
we last met, you were going to lose your voice.
So let me if I can just tell you that you're growing old when I had permission to eat ice cream, and by the third day I was done. I was done with the tapioca. I was done with the. I remember being a kid and being sick and kind of loving being sick because you got all the forbidden fruit. And by day 3, I'm done with. I don't care how you mix it or shake it. I'm not eating any more ice cream.
Yeah, you got to alternate days. Then you can, every other day ice cream is good.
I was looking forward to it. I was thinking, great, I have permission to just eat ice cream, but it was not fun. And I think that shows your age more than anything.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad you're looking healthy. You're sounding healthy. You survived, and you're back at it. A lot of stuff you've been writing about the last couple of weeks, months. We're going to talk about some of that. A lot happened here in the city and some changes at the Lowell Sun as well.
Well, first I'm going to do a commercial announcement for the coffee mill on, what is that? Palmer Street. Because I always get hot chocolate because I am a kid at heart, and I get the small hot chocolate, and then I ask them to fill it up with whipped cream. So she said, "Have you ever tried any of our other coffees?" And I said, "No." I always get the same thing. She goes, "Try the pistachio." You're Greek, don't you guys eat?
Yeah, I love pistachios.
Yeah, the pistachio baklava and everything. They have pistachio coffee. It was delicious. She gave me a little taster cup, and they have all kinds of flavors in there. And I thought it was going to be like syrupy but it was
it's just enough of a hint.
Really good. So next time I come in here, maybe before summer, I'm just messing with you. I'll bring my pistachio coffee. So they rock it out up there.
Yeah, I feel like hot chocolate's days are numbered because back in the day it was either coffee, tea, hot chocolate was the sweet thing, right? For those of us with the sweet tooth. But now all your coffees are flavored, and if you look at what's happening at your Dunkin' Donuts or all your local
That's a really good point.
Everything is flavored. So what's the point of the hot chocolate anymore unless you're going to pour the whipped cream in it?
The whipped cream is really...
So you're doing it right,
Half this cup was whipped cream. I paid for this much hot chocolate.
Now you're making me jealous.
Yeah, but you're right, because I don't take sugar in my coffee, but that tasted sweet. So pistachio coffee, man.
Pistachio coffee.
Start your new year off with pistachio coffee at Mill. What is it?
The Coffee Mill.
Coffee Mill. Coffee Mill.
Palmer Street. All right.
Palmer Street. All right.
We're talking to Melanie Gilbert from the Lowell Sun. We're going to get right into our conversation in a quick second. Let me just thank our Daily Pulse sponsor first, Ray Booten, the licensed realtor in Mass and New Hampshire, the certified appraiser in both of those states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, get in touch with Ray today. Find him online, realestaterayBooten.com. That's realestaterayBooten.com. Last I checked with Ray, that club diner is still on the market, so reach out to him. That will usually his kind of landmark commercial properties will stay on the market for 2 to 4 weeks. So we're starting to get to that point now. If you want in, talk to Ray today, realestaterayBooten.com. I also want to thank our friends at WellPoint for hosting us here, as they always do, in the WellPoint studios. It's the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thank you, WellPoint. Thank you, Ray. We got some podcast sponsors. We'll thank it a little bit, but let's get right down to it.
Well, let me just say I'm jealous of all your Christmas cards. I need to get on these people's mailing lists. I'm a little jealess. They're nice.
For some reason, people want to send me pictures of their kids and their family.
Particularly these two in the bottom, bottom right.
I am a little biased about the two at the bottom right. They happen to be mine, but we got
I like the black and white. It's very, it's very
we got
classy.
The Gendron clan, the Meehan, the Trahan clan, my accountants, all sorts of other people all over there. The McFadden kids.
I know, it's a great holiday.
far
Yeah, you
left.
know, that people just kind of share their happiness.
It is.
And they get away with it.
Yeah, and it's awesome to see like the kids through the years.
Yeah.
If you check out how much they've changed, it's kind of good stuff.
Wall of Fame there. I like it. All right.
We're gonna keep it on up there. So speaking of changes and new seasons and all that fun stuff, new editor.
I know.
You've got a new boss.
So if you tuned into season 1, we had Bruce Castleberry.
This is season 2 of the Daily Post.
We have come through season 2. Bruce Castleberry surprised everybody. I have to tell you a little story, and this is public, so it's not, like I'm not talking out of school. But I got on LinkedIn and I saw on his profile, it said open to work. And he was, working for the Lowell Sun. I was like, oh man, he's such a funny guy, because he is a funny guy. And I thought, oh, that Bruce. And I just wrote it off like he's a funny guy. Turns out he was looking for work, and he got picked up within the M&G network.
Yeah.
He's in Santa Rosa, California.
Yeah, he moved to the left coast, right?
All over. Yeah, he moved all the way across the country, and he's the head editor, senior editor at the Press Democrat, which is a smaller paper, but apparently a pretty influential one.
All right. Is he originally from the West Coast? Was he kind of moving back home, or just on a complete new life adventure?
That boy is from the Permian Basin in Midland, Texas.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
He's a Texan.
No kidding.
But he just said, using his Texan language, this could be his last rodeo. And he decided to just do something different and actually lead a paper. And that paper's actually won the Pulitzer for fire coverage of the Santa Rosa fires back in 2017, I think it was, or 16. So he's got some, chops going into that paper. But I talked to him while he was driving cross country through Nebraska and Iowa and the Sierra Nevadas, where I guess there was 2 feet of snow, which we're supposed to get near the end of this week. Like, what the heck
Is that
are
what
the
they're
miles?
talking about?
Well, it's all over the map, really. But yeah, so Bruce left. And why that's important to me is because that guy hired me. And, we hit it off that we were doing Zoom interviews, and we just totally hit it off. Yeah. And I had lived in Texas, so we sort of had that in common. And I knew Lone Star beer. You don't need to know a lot about things. You just need to know a lot about a lot of little things. Yeah, I'm a mile, what did they say?
Mile wide and an
inch deep. Yeah, you just need that mile wide, man. So he left right before the holidays. And in his place, John Vincent, who used to be a copy editor for the paper, is now the new Bruce. So it's, I guess what you could say is it's business. No news is good news, is that nothing's changed as far as I can see. There's just a change in name, but we're still plugging away.
It's how, they say new brooms sweep clean. But
there's nothing left to clean.
I was going to say the staff at there's 3 main reporters, right? Is you, Peter Courier, and Prudence Brighton.
Well, there's Aaron, Peter, me, full-time. There's Prue. There's Nancy Tuttle, or is that how you say?
Is she full-time?
No, she's not full-time.
Yeah. I always forget Aaron because I think of him as the internet, the crime blog guy.
Yeah,
He does work full-time as well. But.
And then we have stringers, like James works on the sports desk, and Barry Scanlon is full-time and an editor. And then we have stringers, they do odd, like high school sports or whatever. But every day reporting, we have 3 to 4 people. And then the editors, of course, write copy. John has written pieces about Lowell and Chelmsford and Fitchburg. I believe he lives out there, so that's sort of
I believe he's living in Fitchburg. So I did notice one little change in the Sunday column. I was highly anticipated ever since the tragic shooting in Minneapolis on Wednesday. I said to a bunch of my buddies, but I can't wait to see Peter Courier's Sunday column thing. This one's going to really get him fired up. And he completely ignored it. And as I'm reading that Sunday morning, I'm like, I wonder if this is the new editor. Are we going to see new
Sunday Light,
new style,
column light?
Maybe less opinion, more political gossip or informational gossip like the column used to be. Are we going to see a more centrist, dare I say, rightward leaning bent like the Sun used to be prior to Bruce? Because prior to Bruce there was Tom
Chris Scott. ran the column, I thought.
Right, he ran the column, but the editor of The Sun was Tom Shattuck.
Oh,
and before that,
right.
I think, oh God, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he did it for a short period of time. Tom Zupa, I think,
sure.
and then Jim Campanini.
Right.
But it was more of a right-leaning paper. It was owned by the Herald. It still is.
Well, they oversee editorial. Right. We collaborate.
But I was, when Bruce came in, the paper decidedly took a shift left, which I found fascinating, given that, still the relationship with the Herald. So I'm just curious, have you been able to scope out the new guy?
But
where are we
shift
going?
left in what way? Like on the editorial or the column pages only, in particular?
You can tell a newspaper's
part.
bent from the opinion pieces, from the headlines, from the kind of stories that are written about. You guys, you literally at least on your online, your social media, you've got at least 10 to 15 posts, reposts, or whatever of news stories that are nationally based.
Right, because the Tribune is a MNG property, so we pick up their copy. Of course, the Herald, we pick up their copy. Denver Post is an MNG property. So you're right, we pull in. So I don't know if there's selective editing for those kind of stories. There may well be. The news side is separate from the editorial side. So we don't have any influence. And that's why, actually, with the column, I never was comfortable being editorialized.
You got to get your opinion out there, though.
Yeah, but it's really not appropriate because I'm supposed to have clean hands. I shouldn't have a dog in the fight. I mean, I can say, do I think the $422 million price tag is outrageous? Sure. But I don't have to say it because I can get other people to say it, and they're saying it. So I don't have to, I can report it. But for me to speculate is probably not appropriate. So I've been thinking ever since we had that conversation, what was it, back in June or July? What would Teddy do?
Oh, no. What would Teddy do? And then I'm going to do the opposite.
Yeah, right. That's going to get me fired. But no, but I've tried to keep it more topical, like little short hits, like with the library finding those voter, still political, but it's not opinion. And just trying to keep it more news of the day or news of the town. But with Peter, he couldn't report that story because our deadlines have moved up under this new system. That's the one change we've had. I used to crank out I would think about it all week. And you wait until the last minute, right?
Friday was usually the day, if I remember from my conversations with Chris Scott. Friday was the deadline. You submit it, and then by Sunday
you wait
morning,
for the city council agenda to come out, see what else pops, for the dump, because they all dump the bad news at Friday at 4:00, but we can catch them in the column, that kind of thing. And our deadlines have been moved up to Wednesday, Thursday. So that kind of, I think that shooting happened on Wednesday.
Yes.
And so he probably didn't have time to percolate it or
So
process
I should
it.
Wake up right in early
Maybe
Sunday morning.
he'll circle back to that.
So for those, we're talking a little inside baseball here, but for those who might not understand what Melanie was talking about. So in the news business, you have your reporters,
right?
Your /correspondents. They cover a beat, they report those stories, and you're supposed to do it dispassionately,
right? With
just present. He said, here's this side, here's the other side. Read it, you decide. Then you have your columnists and your opinion pieces, your editorial pages, which is where the opinions come out.
They can vent.
But those lines have crossed clearly with new media, social media jumping in,
no
bloggers,
doubt.
podcasters,
the column,
whatever.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, it's people do want to see opinion in things. They may not agree with opinions, but
I don't think they should see them in me.
Right. But how do you, so with such a small staff, Sun used to have what, dozens of correspondents
before my
and
time,
reporters and
sadly.
before your time. It was you could keep those two lines separate because there was enough of you doing the corresponding and enough of the opinion people. Now with just 3 full-timers and whatever that number is and a few other stringers who are occasionally, it's almost like if you want to get both, you, Melanie, have to do both. Oh, yeah, and by the way, while you're at it, go shoot some pictures and some videos.
Yeah,
do some video interviews as well. So it's hard. It's got to be really tempting for you.
Well, because you have to fill so many column inches every day.
Correct.
And you can only run so much submitted copy and so much, whatever, filler, what we call filler. You've got to have content. So, and the column gets like a page and a half every week. So that's maybe 100 inches. That's a lot of copy. My stories average 30 inches. So that's 3 stories for a Sunday for a Sunday column.
Is that how you guys go by the inches or by the word? I always thought there was a word limit.
Well, there's probably 100 words, and so 20 inches is probably 500 words. Okay. So we go by the by the inches.
Yeah, because you have to, each page you print becomes a.
So when we're thin
expense, right?
when we're thin on column copy, you'll see big pictures.
You're giving away all the secrets.
Yeah, the little hacks.
Either big pictures or you have to pull out the thesaurus and use all big words.
Yeah, that's a little column hack. That's a story hack all the way around. You know, on Christmas Day we ran a huge full page spread. And we do that every year. But because we're trying not to report shootings or knifings or bad stuff. You just want the front page to be a sign of joy and hope and Christmas cheer.
So you're happy just being that old school correspondent and leave the opinioning and editorializing to others?
I mean, I only do opinions with you, Teddy.
That's what the podcast is for. There we go.
You know, on the down low. But I don't, I kind of like, I think the facts are interesting enough, you know, and I try not to use adjectives in any of my reporting. Like, I don't say it was the beautiful big bill or any, it's just a bill.
The bill, the omnibus.
It's a bill,
yeah.
right? The omnibus bill. And because I think that sort of puts your finger on the scale too. The kind of words you use tilt the narrative.
It's everywhere. And you know, one of my pet peeves is when there's ever reporting and usually it involves a story about him. And it's like President Trump said, without evidence, that XYZ happening. I think I saw it earlier this week with the Fed chair.
Jerome Powell.
Yeah, President Trump said without evidence that Jerome Powell was doing.
That's fair.
That without evidence in the headline, in the first or second line of the thing, you can work that in.
Yeah.
But when you're putting it out there, and I noticed that's become a big thing.
Well, he's a fire hose of, you know, unverified. And we can't, the headlines have changed and the reporting has changed with ICE. They just used to say illegal immigrants. Now they say alleged.
Right, exactly.
And that's appropriate. I was peeved when the early reporting was saying illegal. How do we know? We're just going to take their word for it? We don't know any of that. And that's not our job to know.
Correct.
We wait for wait for the hearing.
That's a standard old school report.
Right.
Alleged, and any criminal alleged.
Even if
criminal,
I spied it myself, it's alleged. And that has finally come back in. So there's been a loosening of standards that I think are tightening up. But I think the news business, we've talked about this before, kind of brought it on themselves when they all want to say, you know, look at me, I'm the superstar. You know, then you start to like pitch your stories to make you look like the superstar. I don't want to be a superstar. I'm perfect except here on the inside.
You just want to cover mobile toilets.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, on top of that is that if I want to say that ICE is an oppressive militaristic force, I'll just find someone to say it for me. You know, like,
which shouldn't be too difficult.
Which shouldn't be too difficult. But I shouldn't be saying that. Not in the column, not in my reporting. I can lead what we call a teaser to the quote. You know, so and so at the protest said that they felt like ICE was being aggressive. That's not me saying it, but and then I have to lead into the quote to verify that. So, but I do think there's a lot of I think the news has to tighten its focus.
Well, my other pet peeve in that is as you get the person to say that ICE is oppressive, you were originally tasked by an editor or whatever, and back in the TV days, find the person who thinks this is a justified operation, and in a news story, both get their quotes in there or their soundbite, whether it's TV or radio, and again, the listener, the reader decides. We don't see that anymore, left or right media. You know, if you do get the other side, it's usually a panel of 4 people on one side and people getting jumped on the other side. Or now they've completely even cut out that pretext anymore. You know, Fox was the first to kind of do it, to say fair and balanced. Yeah. And I noticed fair and balanced, you got 4 conservatives beating up on the token liberal who's on the show.
Or vice versa.
And then, you know, CNN and MSNBC to the other. Now they've completely cut out and it's just one side, one side.
It's like the Coliseum, and it's,
you know. But my disconnect with that, or my disappointment in that, is I think that just further pushes people into their silos. So, and that ICE shooting is a perfect example. Depending on who you talk to, that was 2 different incidents. Mm-hmm. Every incident is 2 different, you know, it's almost like we're living in 2 different realities, and that reality is based on who you get your news from or who you follow on social media. And there's no introduction of, it's no secret, you and I are different on many ideological points, but when we talk off the air, we find out, we agree on this stuff. But if I've always felt if you present both
our
sides,
approach, we agree on the approach. You know,
present both sides and
Right.
then let the listen.
Well, I also
decide.
see in a lot of reporting what we call, and they don't allow this in the court of law, a leading question. It'd be like if I went to an ICE rally or protest and I said, do you think ICE is aggressive? That's a leading question. I can't put my words in my subject's mouth. I have to ask the question, what do you think about this protest? I mean, because clearly it's a protest. So we can establish some fundamentals and then go from there. But I think there are these leading questions on both sides, and we got to get rid of it. We have to make it more dry. And I have to tell you, Teddy, the thing that hasn't changed and I think it's good with our new editor, it's going to be business as usual, because our numbers are off the charts. And I think you're probably seeing that in your metrics too. People are hungry for news, and they're hungry for, and we talked about this offline before we went on the air, is that people want to be heard. And if you write copy that people feel heard, they're going to listen. They're going to listen to you, or they're going to read you. They're going to read you, even if they don't agree with you, because you're going to touch on some salient points that maybe other people didn't touch on, because of your contrarian. Let's say in your case, contrarian view is that you might bring that out in your interviewee, that they think, oh, when they're, I didn't think about that. So I think politicians have lost that. They're not listening to people. They're doing their talking points. You remember John Edwards?
I do.
Oh my!
Yes.
I had his stump speech memorized.
You covered way too many of his rallies.
Oh my goodness!
Didn't you?
And it was like he would launch into his little stump speech, and I could just and if I had been head of it, on Twitter there was that woman who did Mao Trump's speeches. I can't remember what her name was, and it was brilliantly funny. I mean, it's because these people become predictable and sort of stock characters. And John Edwards, he was always fussing with his hair.
Good looking dude.
Oh,
He's
for
a
sure.
handsome fella.
Well,
a little too handsome for his own good.
Apparently the ladies.
Right?
But it became a beauty contest, and I think we just want down and dirty and gritty and the real talk. So,
but you're right. Information. People still crave information. I wish they'd go to different sources to get it.
Just talk to them and respect them.
Right.
Just you don't try to force a narrative down their throat.
And if nothing else, if you view the other side as the enemy, if you listen to what they're saying or what they're writing, you'll at least know what they're doing. So
I get a lot of
consider it reconnaissance.
Right, exactly. I get a lot of reader feedback, and people don't always agree with me, but I always respond. Thank you for your email, because I do. Sure. And sometimes I get a good relationship with these people, and they share their thought with me about why they think that way. Like I got a ton of stuff about the ICC, the migrants. And, even the homeless were telling me, why are they taking care of the migrants and we're out here on the street? Which I hadn't thought about.
Good question.
So, it's part of this. You have to walk the walk and sort of be in other people's shoes, even if it's the wrong size based on your political beliefs. You just have to sort of be there and, listen to them.
All right. A little inside baseball with Melanie Gilbert.
There you
from the
go.
Lowell. By the way, you got a new job over there, by the way, business reporter. Do I understand correctly?
Well, part of my reader feedback, because I try to cover development, because I think that is going to be the path forward for Lowell. We have to build more housing. As a gateway city, we're particularly primed to do that because we're open to more funding opportunities from the state. And affordable housing is not any less expensive than market rate housing. It costs almost probably the same amount as square footage to sell it, to pitch it as affordable versus market rate. So, but I think the only way we're going to solve a bunch of our problems is to build up. And that's where that front runner city comes in. So I've been trying to focus on more development opportunities. So that's why I was joking, is that I'm the business reporter now. I get emailed that saying, I'm so glad to see that the Lowell Sun has a business reporter.
So it's not really your title.
No, I'm a municipal metro reporter.
All right, well, maybe if they do, if the newspaper industry starts to grow again, maybe, they can hire someone to cover some of the stories, and you can be the business reporter.
There you go. I would love it.
Fun. Love it. Lots to talk about with Melanie Gilbert. We're going to get into some of the happenings since the last time we chatted. First, let me thank all of our Daily Pulse sponsors and all of our podcast sponsors. Ray Booten, he's a licensed realtor in Mass and New Hampshire. Find him online, realestaterayBooten.com. That's realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to WellPoint at WellPoint. Your whole health is their whole point. Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, TMI Cares, managing and developing their own properties for over 30 years. Experience the quality, the care, and the value of making TMI the choice for your home. And by the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in our communities through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Speaking of the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, you mentioned you stumbled across Howard.
I did. I did not know they were on the second floor in this building. I thought they were at, Brood Awakening. I thought that's where they had their offices because that's where I see all of them.
This building is where it's happening.
Seriously.
So I got to tell you, so they no longer own the building. They sold it to another Lowell resident.
Okay.
The 𝐊𝐥𝐲𝐏𝐿 from California owned the building when I first moved in here, and the chamber, Danielle and whatnot. His idea, because we were the first tenants up here on the fourth floor, was to make this floor, if not this entire building, like a new media mecca, to have any type of media, and whether it was like news or even other,
like a hive market for media.
And I'm thinking, we gotta
like
get some
that.
more of these, local podcasters. Can we get the Sun to get a little office space
I
here or
would
something?
love it.
You guys need an office space.
We do.
as well.
My office is the corral, the study corral at the Pollard Memorial Library. I use the one that has heat.
we can work out of the same office, Melanie.
Yeah, that's true.
We get along. Let's go.
Michael Gallagher, when he found out, the attorney Michael Gallagher up on Gallagher and Kavanaugh, when he found out I was like hanging out at the library, he said, "Oh, you can just come into my office." And I thought, well, I would love to, but talk about a conflict.
Come into the meeting, grab the window booth.
There you go. All right, give me baklava. I'm down for that.
All right. So since we last chatted, the city of Lowell has a new city council and a new mayor.
Yep.
Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, I was surprised because I don't report speculation. I only reported the people who announced, and they both announced in September. And then there was this sort of, behind the scenes thing going on. I think it speaks to needing a mayor that's elected by the people, because even if you could prove, which I don't think you can, that violation of open meeting law took place, which I'm quite sure it did, because I think more than 3 counselors were talking to one another.
As long as you talk to each other one at a time, I think you're good.
Well, that's what I mean, is that, good luck proving it, because you're asking the suspects to, they're going to take the fifth. But I don't think it's a good look. And I think you should just play it straight. And I think we're at that point in the city's evolution that people are hungry for that. So I think if you want to preclude Belvedere having the upper hand in every single election, you should only pick a mayor from a contested seat. And that was the whole idea behind the at-large. They're all contested. So Eric was an at-large, and so was Vezina, but Vezina had more votes. So a lot of, which I guess traditionally, Eric runs and from the stage and gets the votes. And there was some scuttlebutt about mayors not doing back-to-back terms. Okay, so that's although that's not true. People have done it. It's not common.
2 cases,
it's not traditional, but it's not unprecedented. But it offended some people, apparently. So I don't, whatever. But if you're going to take that as a metric, then the other metric should also be that the one with the most at-large votes is traditionally. It's not uncommon that they don't, but it's traditionally. So what I'm saying is a lot of barriers got broken. Were crashed through. So to me, that suggests there's, something more going on. And that, I don't know what that is, but it seems like again, I've always been feeling, we talked about this last time I was in here, during the primaries, the preliminary election back in September, the voters seem restless, like they're not doing the business as usual. And I felt like that election was both a rearguard action and business as usual, if that makes sense.
So I was, and still to some degree might be somebody that says, let the people choose the mayor.
Yeah.
But I think it should be letting the people choose the mayor as in a strong mayor.
Go all the way.
If the people are going to have the voice, then let them choose their leader. Why are you going to choose a ceremonial person?
I agree.
But
why do we even have that Plan E? What is up with that?
People tell you it leads to this whole professional management
Is
thing.
it tied to gateway cities or something?
No, but it's funny because you think about it. Worcester's a Plan E. What's Cambridge?
Yeah.
They're not a Plan E.
No, but they don't have
But they're a Plan something, right?
With a strong mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so the whole point. This is what I can't get past. The whole point of the lawsuit, the litigants' lawsuit for
Right.
the unfair and discriminatory elections, which, by the way, the Supreme Court may throw all that out the
Right.
window in the coming months. But the point was, people in underrepresented neighborhoods don't get a fair voice. So, as I've heard, okay, so what's the plan for the people who elect the mayor? Well,
Right.
you put your name on the ballot. If you open it up just to all at large, then aren't you again allowing the people who had the power in 2017
Right.
and 2018 to continue to have the power again? If you open it up to even the district councilors, okay, so, Corey Robinson, Dan Rourke, whoever puts their name on the ballot in a special slot that says, I want to be mayor.
Right.
But the whole point of the district representation was, it's expensive to run a campaign citywide. You don't have the time to go knock on everybody's
You
doors.
can't do both.
So,
right.
So are you ever going to see a
Right.
district council, especially the Acre district, which has, 700 vote turnout?
Right.
South Lowell, whatever. So you're going to basically revert without wanting to back to the old system. Sure, if Vezina tops the ticket, he should be mayor. But isn't that what we were fighting against?
Right.
Originally. So what was I want people to kind of think about that. What was the point of changing the system if we're going to go back to a system that puts the power in the hands of the many?
Right. Well, it was a hot mess. And I don't think it, when I walked into the Lowell Memorial Auditorium, I had 3 people come to me and tell me what the outcome was going to be. Like, what the heck?
Well,
So-
I think it was up in the air until I didn't find out till Monday morning. I knew that there was a lot of things up in the air.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, I think once Belinda Duran,
Yeah.
announced
Well,
her,
and Sydney-
her vote for Eric Gitchier.
Oh, from the jump.
Yeah. My understanding is she's, that word began spreading on Monday morning.
Oh.
That once she did, then it was, I could say, okay, so there it is. It's Eric Gitchier. But I don't think many people had that one on their bingo card.
No.
Belinda Duran. I just assumed Belinda Duran was a Vezina vote because if you look at their base of supporters, they're running in the same circles. I was stunned that she didn't come out to support Vezina. Never mind on the inauguration day from the get-go once
Right.
that recount was complete. So I kind of felt something's happening.
I thought it was going to go to 4 votes. I didn't really have a sense of where people were. I mean, except that they're going to vote for themselves, right? But I didn't think, Belinda was going to do this versus this. And that's sort of the joy of public voting. But it's not really, it's a public process, but it's still a clubby thing. You have to be a member of that club.
And the transparency crowd,
Yeah.
it's not, it wasn't an open process. Like I heard,
No.
we're going to have Mayor Gitchier on with us tomorrow. He's going to
good.
join us on the Daily Pulse. But I heard him in a radio interview over the weekend talk about, there was people that came out into the open and, saying they wanted it and, that you should be doing it behind the scenes and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I can understand that. But at the same time, don't you always want to not go behind the scenes? And like whenever they go into executive session, people get mad that
That's
that
legal.
stuff comes up.
Yeah, but that's legal. There's a process for that. And they have to announce what it's for. So if you're going to go into executive session to announce your candidacy, you've already announced it. Just announce it.
Right.
What are we doing here? So that was the part. I just felt like if you're going to run, just run. Just tell people what you're going to do. And that's part of the transparency and accountability that I thought the voters were asking for. So he's been very strong on changing the mayoral process.
He and
So
Corey
now he
Robinson
has-
refiled that motion.
Yep,
So
right. So maybe we'll see something go on, and this all will be moot, which would be great.
we shall see. My suspicion is it's going to get bogged down in the details. That it's.
I think you
once
need
they try to figure out who's going to get their name on there and how you run for mayor again if you're Corey Robinson or Kim Scott or
It's a good
or
conversation.
Sidney Liang.
Yeah, it's-
good. Sidney Liang's got what 3? I'm not even sure he got to 400 votes in
Right.
the Acre, right?
Right.
Now he's going to run in a race where he needs 3, 4, 5,000
Right.
votes.
It's a good conversation to have, and it's the kind of conversation the city should have. And we have listening panels on everything else. Might as well do it on that. And I think they did back in the day.
Blue ribbon committee.
Blue ribbon, yeah.
Blue ribbon committee.
So I think it would be healthy for democracy. And I do think Belinda, I quoted her in an article that I did on the mayor selection, said, that might encourage more participation if there's more of a wider field and it's known from the jump on who's competing. And maybe that would help bring out the vote.
And which is why I think strong mayor is the way to go. Others tell me, well, you need to get increased participation from the lower turnout neighborhoods before you can go that route.
Yeah.
So if it's the case for that, why?
Well,
Why isn't it the case for electing the mayor? That's
right. Well, I think we're going to be at close to a $700 million budget maybe this year in fiscal 2026, 2027, or is it 2027, 28? I don't know. I've lost track. But so I think a mayor makes sense because you have to be able to hold somebody accountable for budget cuts.
the people should ultimately be the ones making that decision.
And
I
no,
agree with
it's
you.
no shade on Tom Golden. I don't think he's that guy, not him particularly. I don't think city managers are that guy or gal to do that. I don't.
Well, there's nothing to preclude a Tom Golden from running, or an Eileen Donahue before him, or a Kevin
Absolutely.
Burke. The last non-elected person we had city manager was Bernie Lynch, but generally, Lowell city managers
Yeah.
tend to be people who've been state reps or state
Right.
senators, and let them run, and let the chips fall where they may. I'm okay with a strong mayor,
Yeah.
but I wonder, like the folks who. Are they prepared to turn over the power to the same neighborhoods that had it prior, that Belvedere, Upper
Yeah,
Harlem,
because right now we have a
cetera?
gap. You have a city manager, and then you have the council, but the council can't. All they can do is approve the budget. They can't fire people. And the council hasn't shown itself willing to say we're not approving this budget. Come back, So then that leaves it to the city manager to be the bad guy, and he's not going to be the bad guy because then. Those people who lose their job are going to complain to the counselors, who are then going to bring it back to the city council. We're already seeing it in the nonprofit. Councilor Corey Robinson has come before the council 2 times to ask the city to intervene in Thrive, and somebody else, some other nonprofit, I can't remember who it was, because I guess their funding is tight. Well, the city can't underwrite that stuff. I mean, you're going to get everybody coming into the city council and saying, "Give me money."
Right. When you support one business or one organization, you got to
Right.
do all, or else you're
Right,
not picking
and
the
you
winners
can.
and
You,
losers.
I think you can extend that analogy to staffing, or to programs, or to budget cuts in municipal. And so there's this sort of black hole of accountability. They all can sort of do a deniability. Well, I can't do that. And I think a strong mayor would say, "You out. This program cut, reduced, whatever."
We found an area of agreement.
Well, because we can't afford it. I mean, we've got a $500 million unfunded liability.
It's
the
a
pensions and the
ridiculous guy number.
healthcare.
We actually talked about
Yeah.
this before I hit the record, but when you talk about it, you're going to hear this a lot over the next 6 months. The tight Lowell budget. We hear it from the schools,
Yep.
although the schools are they're less inclined to cut. But I think you're gonna get a push from city councilors to rein in the budget, which is great. But the question I'll ask every council that pushes for that is, okay, tell me how.
Right.
Where will you cut? Which employees will you lay off?
And that's the tough decision. And I
Which
think,
benefit will you take away?
right. And a strong mayor is a political position. And there's no political position right now. There's an administrative one with the city manager, and there's a quasi-political one with the city council. But neither one really has the juice to make those tough calls. And a strong mayor does. They can say, and then they might lose the next time, or they might win. And I think that's sort of what this is coming to. As we get closer and closer to $1 billion budget, I think we need something else in the mix.
It will be interesting to watch it play out in Lowell. Hell, it'll be interesting to watch it play out in Drakehead and Tewksbury, everywhere.
No doubt.
Because I have a hunch that as this plays out in the statewide budget, a lot of these communities are not going to get the money that they're expecting.
Right
or
now they
maybe even
are.
not the money that they previously
Yeah.
got. It could be tricky.
Every time I get a
For a
press
lot of
release from Governor Maura Healey's office, they're like dropping money all over the place. And I'm thinking, where are they getting this money from? Like, this is like the last go around before everything gets pulled back.
No, she's very good about announcing that she's spending the money.
Yeah.
My hunch is this money's been being spent all along.
Yeah.
But I mean, she even sent out a press release 2 weeks ago that made my head almost explode, where she was championing the $160 million that they sent to rural hospitals,
Oh, right.
which was money that the federal government sent to the state to send to rural hospitals. But she was taking credit for it. It's an election year. She's got to
Right.
run for re-election.
Right.
But the last line of that article was great. It was money that wasn't originally in the big beautiful bill, but the Congress put it back in.
Right.
Like, well, so it was money that was in the bill.
Right.
So,
Well,
so
right.
why are you taking credit for money that you're admitting Congress gave
Yeah.
you? You didn't save those rural hospitals. Washington, D.C. did.
Right.
But the narrative was that Washington, D.C. is hurting
Right.
rural hospitals, wasn't right, leading up to...
Well, we're seeing a lot more accountability because the funding is tight. Like I attended that homeless and hunger or hunger and homeless commission meeting, and they're talking about how the HUD is, really drilling down into metrics. Do you meet these metrics? And for nonprofits too, you cannot give money to undocumented. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do all these things. And I think sometimes there is a lack of control around how the money is spent. And when you have a lot of it and the spigot is wide open, who cares how much water you use? But if they start charging for, remember when water was like nothing? You could just water your tree if you wanted to for 4 hours and nobody looked at you sideways. And now, then people all had a heart attack when they had to pay for water, which is still ridiculously cheap. It should be more expensive. You shouldn't be able to use treated water to water your grass, water your trees, water your flowers or whatever. But we don't have
I want a nice green lawn.
I know, but it's not sustainable. And I don't mean that as an environmentalist. I think we don't have, and I think to draw that out at the municipal level, the spigot is being shut. And so we're going to have to do more with less. And
we shall see.
That less is like real things, like real people, real services, real programs.
People's jobs, people's
Yep.
services. Exactly. We've seen a couple of rallies recently locally, just this past weekend.
We had 3 stories in the paper.
There was that rally against the ICE operations in Minneapolis and the shootings.
Yep.
I think the week before that we had the pro Maduro rally. How are we?
Oh, the Venezuelan. Right. No war. I think that was like a no war, no ICE.
I thought we didn't like kings.
Yeah.
But I guess Maduro was...
We like autocratic.
we like people who steal elections to stay in power, because we're all in agreement that Maduro stole the Venezuelan elections multiple times, right?
It's so crazy. I mean...
Here's my question. Where were all the Venezuelans in that one?
How so? You mean in the rally?
Yeah, did we see any Venezuelans
I don't know.
protesting the ouster of Maduro?
I have to tell you, those rallies in our metrics never really do well. So I don't know if we're not... No, I mean... I don't know if we're not framing it right, sometimes I think we give the story away in the headline and the subhead. You just read that, you don't have to read the story. I mean, because we give so much information. I try to keep my headlines to 4 or 5 words. If you want more, click here.
Get into the story.
I'm not giving it away. And so it's kind of confusing, but I do think what's going on a lot is this idea that 2 wrongs make a right. I totally agree with you. Now, people have to decide, okay, so now we do like Maduro, but we don't like it in our democratic United States of America. But it's, that's the surface stuff. It's like when Don Jr. said, if I give you a bowl of Skittles and I tell you 3 of them are poisoned and will kill you, however it was, would you eat them? And you kind of think, no, I'm not feeling lucky.
That's some that would.
But it's loosey-goosey thinking. Why is there even a poison Skittle in the bowl? I mean, that's the story. And that's the story we're not telling, is that we're letting these sort of topical conversations take place to inflame and to divide and to conquer. And I want to talk about the 3 poison Skittles. Who put them there? Where did they come from?
Yeah, why would somebody poison a Skittle?
Right. Why is this the argument? And I think with Venezuela, we're getting a lot of cross signals. One day we're for and then we're against. Both sides, right and left, or administrations. And what I like about Trump is that he challenges
conventional wisdom.
He challenges the conventional wisdom, which might not be, didn't make sense anyway. And we've got to mix it up. Something's not working.
So you know what I'm waiting for? Well, first I'm waiting for the same people that have been protesting all these other things to get out, take to the streets for the people of Iran who are getting slaughtered by the tens of thousands at this point, but are fighting back. They're fighting for their freedom after.
Well, if I can just jump in.
To 50
so then the
years of
Shah's son wants to come in.
The Shah's son would be the one.
A monarch, from a monarch, or how do you say that? Dynasty. He wants to come in and run the show. This is what I'm saying. There's so many crazy arguments intertwined. It's like a Gordian knot.
So I'm hoping people will come out and at least wave the Iranian flag in solidarity.
Yeah, you'll be run over.
With the Persians who
Yeah.
are trying to get back to the glory that their country once was. My hunch is, though, that if he acts in Iran as he acted in Venezuela or elsewhere with some kind of support for the protesters, suddenly we're going to get people coming out, saying hands off the Ayatollah.
Yeah.
Which again, I mean, these are bizarre times that I'm living through as a 60-year-old watching the movement out there for, again, pro-Maduro. I'm not sure they're pro-Maduro, but the sign is certainly sticking up for him. And I'm just wondering how do we ever find a common ground again?
Well, this tribalism is really resurfacing. I think what we're seeing is this tribalism is that these leaders have so ingratiated them into the cultural identity that to attack even a brutal dictator like Maduro makes it seem like you're a traitor against Venezuela, which the two are completely separate. But there's this blending of narratives, and Maduro's been brilliant in doing that. Trump is too. If you criticize him, you're unpatriotic, and he's going to bring you up on charges. And so where did we get our identity from? From the Constitution. And we had this identity, we the people. And that's what made this a great country, because you can't see that anywhere else in the world, that this national identity. And that's kind of being eroded. So I don't know where we go from there. I think this is why you'll probably see signs up with the Ayatollah. Yeah.
It's my prediction right now. I think if some American action happens to help the protesters in Iran take the Ayatollah out, you will see people come out.
Because people don't want their country. We wouldn't want it either. And then they become protective, and that guy is the leader or the image of the country. And that's what's, in my opinion, that's what's broken, is we shouldn't be a one-person democracy or a one-person theocracy or a one-person, those things are designed for that. But
what we should be a people that are pro what's best for America, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to say America first, but the foreign policy used to be able to unite us. We always used to be able to unite against any foreign adversaries or quote unquote bad actors, and then we kind of got lied to with weapons of mass destruction, and we started to realize, maybe we're not as altruistic.
Well, Vietnam, going all the way back then.
Correct.
Right.
But now it seems like we can't even agree that Maduro's a bad guy, and it's good for the Venezuelan people. We can disagree over whether should we be sending American troops in there to take them out. Once we've taken them out, are we going to keep American troops in there? I'm hoping the answer is no to that part. I'll give you take them out and bring them back here.
Good Lord, we're going to be in Greenland. We're going to be in Cuba. We're going to be in Venezuela. We're going to be in Iran.
That's where I start to get a little nervous.
I'd love to see how that's going to happen.
But if we can't all agree that Maduro being out of there is a good thing for the Venezuelan people, who, my understanding, is the largest mass migration of political refugees is Venezuela. Yeah. I mean, and a lot of these folks want to go back home. I've been listening to interviews and podcasts with opposition leaders who have come here and others who are like, we want to go back home to our country. We don't, where I'm not sure that's the case with many of the other migrants. They're happy here in America, but these folks.
Well, Haitian, I don't think they want to go home.
No. Would you want to?
Currently,
no, not the way that place is a mess. But the Venezuelans are completely different. But if we can somehow stabilize a country where I think the number I heard was 900,000.
It was a lot, yeah.
So we'll call it close to, a billion people. If a ton of those can go back to Venezuela and live in a country that was once prosperous with oil that could make it prosperous again, then what does that do for our housing crisis, our housing costs, our social safety net and whatnot? That's a good thing for America. And we're discussing absolutely none of that because we're too busy fighting about Trump versus Maduro.
That's where I'm hopeful that Seth Moulton is sort of that voice in the wilderness, that he's going to speak this, cliche truth to power. And
have you seen anything that gives you reason for that hope?
Not yet. I
think he's trying to go farther than Markey.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything since his transgender comment almost 2 years ago. But he's gone to ICE in Burlington. Yeah, which I think is appropriate. There should be oversight and accountability. I mean, he is a congressperson. But I don't think any of them are talking to their constituents like we're talking right here. And this is sort of that bubble that I think happens is that, I'll give you a for instance. So people say, oh, mass transit. Oh, it's like a panacea. It's going to solve our environmental issues. It's going to solve our transportation. Everything is going to be cured if we all just get on the bus, right? And so I got on that bus. And last year for the folk festival, I walked from my Arlington home to the Medford station, which took me 22 minutes. And I got there 15 minutes early because if you miss a train, the next one's not for another hour and a half. So I got on the train. That took 33 minutes, which was actually fun. I love riding the rails. Then I get off up at Gallagher, and I had to wait the wait wasn't bad, but I had to wait another 10 minutes for a bus to bring me to Dutton Street where it let me off, and I still had to walk up. The whole thing took about an hour and a half. That's not mass transit.
Correct.
So
it's not convenient.
No, but everybody wants to talk about, and this is no rip on the LRTA. They're doing their level best, and the commuter rail is wonderful, and they're doing their level best, but the nodes aren't there. So the politicians who are saying, oh, mass transit, give money and do this, that, and the other, have they ever ridden the commuter rail? Have they ever been on the frickin' bus? No. Have they ever walked?
Because that's for the peons. That's for the poor people, the lower middle class people like you and I. You take the public transportation. We're going to try to force you into mass transit, but the wealthy elites,
Teddy, I didn't even own a car.
They're not.
Yeah, no, they're not.
They'll keep their car. What they're trying to do is create less traffic for themselves on the roadways by forcing everybody. And my mentality is if you can take your Mercedes and your BMW onto the road, I should be able to take my RAV4. The person living in the projects with whatever car they should be able to take their car to work as well. Why are we trying to force poor people into cars? Why are we trying to put mileage limits, carbon taxes, whatever? And quite frankly, why are we trying to force them into a transportation system that, as you said, is inconvenient?
Well, and it's expensive. It cost me $25. I'm remembering in precisely, but it was like $10.50 each way. The bus transfer was free, but it was $10.50 each way. Plus, I paid in cash.
The train from Arlington to Lowell.
From Medford to Lowell
okay.
was $10.50 one way. Round trip, I think, was a little cheaper, but I didn't do the round trip because I wasn't sure I was going to take it back. I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I paid in cash, so I had a $3 surcharge fee or something crazy. So it was, let's say it was between 20. Well, because if you don't do the app or you don't do the There wasn't a ticket at the station a year ago. There might be now. So if you don't do that ahead of time, you pay like a little. There was like a little surcharge. Now this is dated information, but my bigger point is that it wasn't cheap, it wasn't efficient, and it wasn't convenient. So
that's the problem.
I'm just going to get in my car, which takes me 25 minutes, and the gas is still pretty cheap, and I'll park. It was free, which I've also done. I've driven into the city, parked at the Gallagher, and walked up to the festival, which isn't really doable either. Not at night, of course. Right. And so I think
that's the challenge that they haven't been able to figure out to move more people towards mass transit. As you said, getting on the train from Lowell to Boston, 40 minutes max, right? On a typical day. That's great, right? But you still have to get from your house.
It's the moving part.
In the suburbs to the Gallagher terminal, then from North Station, unless you work at the Boston Garden or on that same block, you still got to get to the North End. You still have to get to the financial district. So it is inconvenient. That's the part that I don't think people have been able to figure out. Can you make it work in Boston? Sure, because you got enough subway cars and trains.
Or Chicago or New York, right.
But what happens to the people who are going to get those jobs at Link?
So this, exactly.
How are they going to get to their jobs?
Right, exactly. And so how are they not only, let's say they want to live in Boston, they're not going to get that job in Lowell. It's not, they're going to drive. And actually the commute works for them, going against traffic. Or vice versa. How are you going to get people in Lowell to go to Boston? It's really, I would love to see those metrics. And what I'm suggesting, what I think we're agreeing to here is that politicians need to get real. And they need to talk to real people who are really doing these things. Like I told you earlier, I didn't even own a car until I was 30 because I lived in Washington, D.C. I rode a scooter when I really wanted to,
Why doesn't that surprise me?
Yeah, or I rode my bike, or I took the metro. I mean, and when I needed a car to go to Sam's Club, I would rent a Hertz rent-a-car, which was right down the street from me. In fact, when I moved to Boston, I didn't have a car. and because I sold my car, and
But now you can do an Uber.
now there's a lot more transportation options. But I lived right in South Boston, right over the Broadway Street Bridge. So I just literally walked across the bridge and I was in downtown Boston. I mean, it was beautiful. Now, for shopping and stuff like that, it was a little bit more complicated, but it wasn't undoable. This metric right now is undoable. And so when I sit in these city council meetings or I listen to the governor, and I'm not throwing shade on any of them, but I am thinking how many of them.
You're going to be an opinion person on the podcast.
Because I have the lived experience. So that doesn't make it an opinion. It makes it different. It's elevated to a different level. How many people have ridden the bus? In fact, I was more liberal than my dad. You know, I love my dad. And he said, oh, you know, honey, wait till you ride the bus.
You'll understand.
You'll understand. And a liberal will become a conservative. Well, that didn't really happen. I mean, I am a big fan of mass transit when it works. And it doesn't really work here. And I don't know how to fix that. So I feel like we should just have, a conversation about not changing it maybe necessarily, because to change it, we don't have the money. Just embrace, as we were talking about, embrace the suck.
Get in your car.
Get in your car.
Drive.
Just drive, baby. That's right. I mean, it's like Montreal. I just saw an ad for them. They don't show themselves in bikinis or tank tops. They show themselves throwing snowballs and bundled head to toe in winter gear. And they don't look warm at all, but they show them embracing the cold. I mean, Montreal's freezing.
Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck.
I think I'm going to start stealing that one.
I've never been one of the naysayers about the Parking Enterprise Fund, because coming from big cities, you need garages. If you don't have a transportation system that efficiently moves you from point to point, for whatever reason, you need garages because people have to drive, and you have to target that. And these are the kind of conversations I hope the new council, which seems to be a little bit more. I think Sean McDonough only has one car, so one car family. So he might be, when he doesn't, his wife, let's say, has the car, then he's got to figure out his, you have to be mindful. You can't just take it for granted. And I have a feeling, I don't know if there's ever been a survey done of the number of people who live in Lowell who don't have a car or only have one car, and they are like a 3-person family or a 4-person family. Okay, we're right there. That's going to limit your options.
That's my single biggest pet peeve about the downtown residents. It's not all of, but there's a healthy amount of them who complain about parking. And I'm like, you chose to live in a downtown.
Yeah, parking's always going to be.
You either have to learn to park in a parking garage or learn to live without your car. There's the street parking component, but people losing their minds about, when the meters went to 8 p.m., people lost their minds, And if you remember, the original proposal, I think, was 10 p.m.
Oh, was it?
Got rolled
I don't
back
remember that.
8 p.m.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, that's the whole point of a downtown. You create parking garages, and then, but the same people who will bitch about parking in downtown Lowell and having to pay to park till 8, 10 o'clock will drive into Boston and go eat at the North End, where you can't park on the street.
Right.
Or anywhere for that matter, and they have no problem.
You can't even find a parking place by Faneuil Market. Those garages are full by noon. They put up signs that say, hey, good luck. And, you just drive around the block waiting for somebody to come out so you can grab that spot. People line up. So I guess my point is that you can't have a suburban mindset if you want to have a city mentality. And we want to be a city. We are a city. And so let's just embrace the suck and just say, okay, we're not going to win this battle because the infrastructure is not going to be there. We don't have the bike lanes. We don't have the walking paths, not even from Western Avenue Studios. They've been talking about that forever. And I get all the logistics. So that's not going to happen. So we need a car. How do we make it car friendly? I mean, I know that's going to drive you talk about your head exploding. That's going to make a lot of people's heads explode. But you can't. We have to stop. Sure, it's pie in the sky, and I would love for that to happen. I wouldn't ride my bike. I once rode from Arlington to Lowell, and it was
you're taking your life into your hands.
Bare knuckled, man.
Yeah, you do it often enough, and you're going to end up seriously.
I only did it one time, and it took me 2 hours, and then I still had to get home. But there was not a viable bike path. And then even when I got to the city, there wasn't really a viable bike path to get around. And there are no bike racks anyway. So what are you going to do with your bike? So there are no meters now that you can lock them to. So You know, like there's so much more to the conversation, but I feel like a lot of the people who are deciding this sort of narrative are the pencil pushers who aren't actually riding the bus. We have to ride the bus. And that's what I think people are looking for in their politicians. You're a real person who's doing real things with other real people.
We're agreeing too much today. Before I let you go, I want to talk about your recent story, restroom trailers.
Oh, yeah.
Lowell is getting 2 high-class, high-end...
2 each restrooms.
Right,
Restrooms in each. With a ramp and everything.
4 bathrooms, two separate trailers. Is it one men's room, one women's room in each?
Well, I don't know how they're...
Or does one have 2 women's stalls and one has 2 men's?
I can't remember the specs, but it might be a mix. It's like a man, woman on on opposite ends, and then a man, woman opposite ends. So
here's my first question, because it's me and I'm kind of a dick.
Well, they might be unisex. I don't know.
I was going to say, are they?
Yeah. Oh, I don't.
Can you tell me that they're unisex?
I don't know that they're. Yeah, I don't
They're
think
going to have to be unisex.
Yeah, I think
right?
they're unisex,
All
and
right.
they're ADA compliant, so they're going to be big. So they're pretty big. I can't remember how big they were. I want to say 20 feet.
They need to, because they each has a sink, a flushable toilet,
Right.
and whatnot. It's not your porta potties or whatever. I've seen these. They're high end.
Yeah, I looked at the Elks Creek website. They're really nice.
Yeah, they're very nice. So where are they going?
Well, I couldn't get an
notice
answer.
that in your story.
No, I couldn't. I said.
Oh, you asked the question.
I asked the question. Well, I think here's another boots on the ground. I've been to 3 folk festivals. I can't tell you, and I made the mistake of going to the beer tent when I first got there, because I was, I'd never been to the beer tent, and I know that's a piece of the contribution to the Lowell Festival Foundation. So I thought, well, I'll contribute, and I got myself a beer. Well, then when you drink beer, it's you have to go to the bathroom, and it's not easy. There aren't like bathrooms all over the place. You have to plan for it. And I wonder, I asked this question, is this for the folk festival or winter?
They're going to need a lot more trailers if it's for the folk festival.
Well, it's a good start, and so is this like something that you're going to put where there's a gap in coverage, which would make a lot of sense, but I didn't get an answer. I emailed Paul St. Cyr, commissioner with the DPW. I emailed the health department because I could see that being part of their oversight. And I emailed Maura Fitzpatrick with the Hunger and Homeless Commission, because I'd actually heard on the street that the advocates on the street said they were getting trailers, which is what led me to this story. But I couldn't confirm it. I couldn't confirm that these were going to be used by the homeless.
So that's my hunch, that they're going to ultimately set these up somewhere where the homeless population congregates during the day or even at night, which, again, in theory, it's a good idea, right?
Right.
We're tired of seeing people defecating on sidewalks.
Right.
And urinating. So it makes all the sense in the world. The problem is it's also going to attract the illegal
Right.
aspect.
There's a whole nother
somebody
piece of
goes
it.
in there and
Right.
shoots up or ingests
Who's going to clean
drugs.
it if there's a needle in there? Right.
There's nobody walking around the streets from 1 to 5 in the morning. Somebody decides, well, it's pretty cold out here. This is now my home for the
Right.
So you start to. So you gotta.
Right.
These are once you have a great idea, and then you're like, oh.
Well, Life Connection
implement it
figured that
itself.
out. They had showers and a portable toilet outside their Appleton location. It was no pun intended, it was a SHIT show.
You can say shit on a podcast.
And so, it's already been tried, and it's a good idea. So it's a good idea to do mass transit, but does it really work?
Right.
It's a good idea to do portable toilets, but does it really work?
Which brings us back to the porta potty, because for 200 and what each cost $138,000. Did I see that correctly?
No,
Or
the
that was
whole
total
thing.
cost? Okay.
Yeah, the whole
All right,
thing.
So, but how many porta potties can we get for 130,000? And would that be a better solution than
Where the company's in charge of it, and it's a single stall kind of thing.
correct?
I
Where they
don't-
come and empty it like they do up at Friendship Park in Chelmsford. where
Yeah,
take
I
my
think the problem
kids.
you've had, the more units you have, the more oversight you have to have, and then you have more maintenance. Like this contract is only for the units; it's not for the maintenance or anything like
So
that.
the city now owns
So that's going to have to be contract union negotiated. I don't know. That's going to add it to their.
it, which also brings legal. Have you talked to the solicitor's office about this?
Oh, that's a good
potential
one.
liability issues.
Yeah, that's a good
if
one.
Crimes committed in there.
Oh, and that can happen at the folk
sexual
festival.
Assault, somebody
Right.
is to OD or whatever. Like
Right.
the city owns them. The city's supposed to maintain them. The city's supposed to secure them, protect
Yeah,
them. Right?
it's not only the homeless. That could happen at a folk festival. That could
right,
happen
exactly. So
at the
who's,
Winterfest. Right. Well,
who's legally liable.
Interestingly enough, when I was I did a tour of the bathrooms, the public bathrooms in the city. And you know what? Actually, I have to say they were clean. They were all clean. And at Elliott, they have a guy, I don't know what his compensation is, but he's, a staff member who, I mean, in terms of how they rotate that. He sits outside the bathroom and they have a table and you have to deposit your coats, your bags, and any other stuff. You can't go in there with all your junk. And then there's a 5-minute limit, and I'm sure he has a key. And the bathroom was super clean. And then I went to the Pollard Memorial Library thinking, you've been in public bathrooms and libraries. I mean,
not for a line. I have not been
Teddy,
in a
you need to get
for a
out
long
more.
time. No.
But, it's like
my library's right here.
Yeah, well, that's true. So, airports and that kind of stuff, they can be a little grungy. And it was really clean. And in fact, while I was there, a guy with a wheelie cart who looked a little ripe, dragging his belongings, went and used the bathroom. I mean, I didn't stalk him, but he went in and he came out. And when I went into the bathroom after to get my photo, it was still clean. The seat was up, which I thought was, a little gauche, but there's no crime against that. But other than that, I think there's obviously a need. And right now the city does not smell. I was all over. I was looking for poop. And I didn't find it because many of them are sheltered right now because in fact, I'm going to run a story for tomorrow. The Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, I just call it HLC, they just approved Lowell for another 20 beds, which are probably going to be out in Chelmsford. So that's 20 more people they're going to get off the street in the winter.
Where in Chelmsford?
That used to be the Best Western.
The old Best
it's
Western.
by Scott Plass' old restaurant, Moonstones.
Yeah, okay. So that had vacancies? I thought that was full.
Well, they must. I don't know.
It's been some kind of a homeless or some kind of shelter for
a long
years
time.
Now. They took the
Well, I'm
sign out.
spitballing on that. CTI, because I just emailed Kathleen Plath to see if CTI is actually going to be running that. I'm assuming they will, because they're the housing nonprofit provider.
Right.
But CTI right now only, they rent 25 rooms. No, 25, 35, 36, 37 rooms. So times 2, because they're doubles. So more than, and I imagine they're just going to add another, I don't know if it's 20 beds, so 10 rooms, but I've asked her for clarification. So you don't have that overwhelming smell in the winter, but come summer,
Yes.
when all the winter protocol goes away and they're back to living on the streets or in the doorways or wherever, it's good. It's bad. I mean, it's ripe. So I don't know if the city's planning ahead. The trailers won't be here till June 30th.
Just in time for the food festival.
That's what I'm saying. So that was my initial thought. But then I was, I got this other scoop is that might be used for other purposes, which sure, think outside the box. Give peace a chance. Give toilet trailers a chance.
We shall find out. Melanie Gilbert from the Lowell Sun.
Always pleasure.
Good to catch up.
It is.
It's good to have you in here. We'll get back on a regular rotation.
Next time I come, it will be pistachio coffee in this cup.
You'll like
just
pistachio.
so you know. I
Pistachio coffee and pistachio ice cream.
Life-changing.
I'm with you. All right, thank you. Thanks to Melanie Gilbert for joining us. Thank you for tuning in to the Daily Pulse on this Tuesday, January 13th. Tomorrow, Lowell's Mayor Eric Kitcher will join Bill Samaras and myself here in the WellPoint Studios. Lots to talk about with Lowell's new mayor on Thursday. Who do I have in here on Thursday? I got somebody lined up on Thursday. I forget who it is. Oh, Greg Pappas will be doing it. That's who it is. And then Friday, of course, the Daily Pulse Live with the Killer Bees. Boder and Buckley. Leslie Boder, Joe Marie Buckley will be here next Monday at noon. The debate, Democratic candidates vying for state Senate, the first Middlesex state Senate seat, the special election to replace Ed Kennedy. Representative Rodney Elliott, Representative Vanna Howard will be here in the WellPoint Studios. We'll record that debate in the morning. We'll drop it in its entirety at noon on the Daily Pulse Monday, January 19th. You don't want to miss that one. It's the show that keeps its finger on the pulse of Lowell and the world around it. It's the Daily Pulse. For Melanie, for everybody else here at Inside Lowell, I'm Teddy Panos saying stay safe, stay warm. We'll see you on the other side.